Mount Everest, the tallest peak on Earth, towering at 8,848 meters (29,029 feet), stands as the ultimate symbol of adventure and achievement for climbers worldwide. Since 1953, when Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay made the first successful ascent, the mountain has attracted thousands of adventurers. Yet, Everest is not just a monument to human triumph, it's also a graveyard. Over 300 climbers have perished on its slopes, with many of their bodies remaining there, preserved in the mountain's brutal cold. The stories behind these tragedies are not only a testament to the dangers Everest poses, but also to the moral and physical limits of human endurance. Above 8,000 meters lies Everest's infamous death zone, where oxygen levels plummet and temperatures regularly dip to -30 degrees Fahrenheit. This harsh and hostile environment makes even the simplest tasks Herculean, and many climbers meet their end due to hypoxia, exhaustion, or altitude sickness. It is here, amidst the towering ice and rock, that bodies of climbers have frozen in time, serving as macabre markers for those who dare to ascend. In the death zone, survival becomes a fight against nature, and the bodies of fallen climbers tell a silent story of the mountain's ferocity. For instance, Siwang Palger, who became known as Green Boots, was a member of the ill-fated 1996 Indian expedition. Caught in a deadly storm just below the summit, Palger sought shelter in a cave but succumbed to exposure. His body, wearing bright green mountaineering boots, became a tragic landmark on the northeast ridge, guiding climbers for nearly 2 decades until it was moved in 2014. Palger's body, like many others, was preserved by the mountain's extreme cold, a haunting reminder of the thin line between life and death in the death zone. The 2006 death of David Sharp, a British climber, sparked a fierce ethical debate that reverberated throughout the mountaineering community. Climbing without sufficient oxygen and equipment, Sharp sought refuge in the same cave as Green Boots, but was ultimately overcome by the cold. What makes Sharp's death particularly controversial is that over 40 climbers passed him as he lay dying, some mistaking him for a corpse. The stark reality in the death zone is that assisting a climber in distress can jeopardize your own life, a moral dilemma that continues to weigh heavily on the minds of those who venture into Everest's upper reaches. Sharp's death raised critical questions about the nature of human responsibility on the world's deadliest peaks. One of the most chilling tales from Everest history is that of Hannelore Schmatz, a German mountaineer who perished in 1979. After successfully reaching the summit, Schmatz and her team were caught in exhaustion on their descent. She chose to rest at a high altitude, ignoring warnings from her Sherpas. Tragically, she never woke up. For years, her body remained eerily preserved in a seated position, her hair blowing in the wind, until it was eventually swept off the mountain by the same forces that had claimed her life. Schmatz's story, like many others, serves as a poignant reminder of Everest's unforgiving nature. Recovering a body from Everest is an incredibly dangerous and costly endeavor. The altitude and extreme conditions mean that it can take up to 10 Sherpas to retrieve a single frozen body, often weighing double its normal weight due to the ice that encases it. In some cases, families choose to leave their loved ones on the mountain, either due to financial constraints or to honor their final wishes. Jason Kennison, an Australian climber who died near the summit in 2023, had expressed his desire to remain on Everest if he didn't survive. This sentiment is shared by many climbers who see the mountain as their final resting place, a place where they were pursuing their life's greatest passion. For others, retrieval is simply too dangerous. Gautam Ghosh, an Indian climber, died in 2016, and his body remained on the mountain for over a year before a risky and expensive recovery operation could bring him down. Each recovery mission reignites the debate in the mountaineering community: is it worth risking more lives to retrieve the dead? Or should Everest's slopes remain the final resting place for those who perished in their pursuit of the summit? Climbers on Everest often encounter bodies frozen in place, seemingly undisturbed by time. These bodies, preserved by the cold, serve as a haunting reminder of the mountain's lethal potential. Famed climber Lakpa Sherpa, who holds the record for the most summits by a woman, recalled passing 8 bodies during a single ascent. One body, she recounted, had hair that moved with the wind, giving it the illusion of life. Such encounters are unsettling but not uncommon. and they add a layer of psychological challenge to the physical and environmental dangers climbers face. The story of Frances Arsentiev, known as Sleeping Beauty, is particularly poignant. In 1998, she and her husband Sergei attempted to reach the summit without supplemental oxygen. Frances became incapacitated on the descent, and despite Sergei's desperate attempts to save her, she died on the mountain. Her body remained there, lying peacefully as if asleep, for nearly a decade before it was finally recovered. Frances' tragic end, like that of so many others, underscores the perilous reality of high-altitude climbing. The cost of retrieving bodies from Everest is not just measured in dollars but also in lives. The high-altitude conditions make recovery missions incredibly hazardous, often requiring specialized equipment and personnel. The expense can range from $30,000 to $70,000, and in some cases it is simply too dangerous to even attempt. Helicopters can only reach a certain altitude, and beyond that, climbers must rely on Sherpas and fellow mountaineers to risk their own lives to bring the dead down. In recent years, there has been a push to clean up Everest, not just by retrieving bodies but also by removing the tons of trash left behind by decades of expeditions. In 2019, a Nepalese government-sponsored mission removed 4 bodies and 11 tons of waste from the mountain. Climate change has accelerated these efforts, as melting glaciers are revealing bodies that have been buried for years. Yet the task remains perilous, and the debate over whether to continue retrieval efforts persists. Perhaps the most infamous section of Everest is Rainbow Valley, an area on the northeastern ridge near the summit. Its colorful name belies its grim reality. Rainbow Valley is so named because of the brightly colored jackets of the fallen climbers who litter its slopes. Here, some 200 bodies remain, scattered across the landscape, a chilling testament to the dangers that await those who venture too far into the death zone. For many climbers, passing through Rainbow Valley is a sobering reminder of the price some pay in pursuit of their dreams. The varied backgrounds of the climbers who have perished on Everest paint a picture of the diverse individuals who sought to conquer the world's highest peak. From seasoned veterans to inexperienced adventurers, each climber's story is a reminder of the mountain's allure and its dangers. While some bodies have been recovered, most remain where they fell, slowly becoming part of the mountain itself. Several climbers who have died on Everest have become part of the mountain's lore. George Mallory, one of the first to attempt to summit Everest, disappeared in 1924, leaving behind one of mountaineering's greatest mysteries. Did he and his partner Andrew Irvine reach the summit before they perished? Mallory's body was not discovered until 1999, and while the question of whether they summited remains unanswered, his story continues to captivate adventurers and historians alike. Scott Fisher, a seasoned American climber and leader of the Mountain Madness expedition, died during the infamous 1996 Everest disaster. His death, along with those of others caught in the same storm, highlighted the dangers of commercializing Everest climbs and raised questions about the ethics of guiding inexperienced climbers to such perilous heights. Rob Hall, another victim of the 1996 disaster, famously died while attempting to save his client, Doug Hansen. Hall's final moments, as he spoke to his wife via satellite phone from the mountain, are both heartbreaking and heroic. His body, like many others, remains on Everest, a symbol of the mountain's dual nature, both a place of triumph and of tragedy. The tragedies on Everest, particularly the 1996 disaster, have led to increased scrutiny of the culture surrounding high-altitude climbing. The commercialization of Everest, with guided expeditions taking climbers of varying experience levels to the summit, has raised concerns about safety and ethics. The phenomenon of summit fever, where climbers push themselves beyond their limits to reach the top, has been implicated in numerous fatalities. Climbers often face a difficult choice: continue to the summit or turn back to ensure their own survival. Yet, despite the risks, the allure of Everest remains. For many, the chance to stand on top of the world is worth the danger. The stories of those who have perished on Everest are both cautionary tales and symbols of human determination. The mountain, with its icy peaks and deadly slopes, continues to call to adventurers around the globe, embodying the ultimate challenge and symbolizing both human ambition and the thin margin between success and disaster. Mount Everest's towering presence in the Himalayas is more than just a physical peak. It is a monument to the extremes of human experience. The frozen bodies scattered across its slopes, from the well-known landmarks like green boots to the forgotten climbers who remain in anonymity, serve as permanent reminders of the dangers Everest presents. Every climber who attempts the ascent is aware of the risks, and for some, the mountain becomes their final resting place, a part of Everest's legacy as much as the triumphs and records set by the living. The stark reality of the death zone, where oxygen deprivation and freezing temperatures claim lives, challenges the ethics of those who climb. Stories like David Sharp, left unaided as he perished, raise moral questions about survival and solidarity at extreme altitudes. Others, like Hannelore Schmatz, who rested and never woke again, remind us of the perilous nature of judgment when fatigue overtakes climbers. The colorful yet grim Rainbow Valley is a chilling memorial to all who sought to conquer the summit but found death instead, frozen in time. Efforts to clean the mountain and retrieve bodies reflect the growing recognition of Everest's darker side. Yet the cost and danger of such missions, paired with the sheer physical challenges of Everest's heights, mean that many climbers will remain where they fell. For their families, leaving them on the mountain is often an act of respect for their final wishes or a simple acceptance of the impossible task of recovery. In the end, Mount Everest remains an irresistible force in the world of mountaineering. It draws people with its promise of unparalleled achievement, but exacts a heavy toll from those who underestimate its dangers. Every climber who ascends the peak does so with the knowledge that they may join the long list of the fallen. For those who survive, the memory of the bodies left behind, preserved by the cold, serves as both a warning and a testament to the mountain's deadly allure. The stories of George Mallory, Francis Arcentiev, Scott Fisher, and so many others remain etched into the mountain's history. These tales of endurance, tragedy, and human resilience will continue to captivate and inspire as new generations of climbers venture into the death zone, chasing the ultimate goal of reaching Everest's summit. But they too will do so knowing the profound risks, the haunting reminders, and the somber legacy of the mountain they are about to face. Everest's icy slopes will forever be a place where adventure and tragedy coexist, and where the boundaries of human endurance are pushed to their absolute limit. The mountain remains a timeless challenge, and for as long as people seek to conquer it, Mount Everest will continue to hold on to its secrets, both triumphant and tragic, keeping them frozen in time, just as it does the climbers who never returned.